Kingdom by the Sea. Pietro put down the glass of Syrah and wiped his mouth. It's meant to be priceless, he said, by way of justification. Isabella only snorted in response. Nothing is priceless, she scoffed, her derision plain to see on her face. Pietro laughed at his lover's scorn. It's true, he protested. I hear the Delvers talking about it. Apparently it can remove scars, even magic ones, and... He paused to let the tension build. If applied beneath the lavender moon, it will dissolve even the years away, leaving the patient as vibrant as when they first came of age. Now it was Isabella's turn to laugh, and she didn't hold back. His pretty face must have done more than catch your eye if you believe that nonsense, she said when she had regained her composure. Nonsense it might be, but he's still offering 2 crowns a portion, and I've checked him out. He's good for it. Isabella curled her lip as she contemplated this new information. It was tempting, but something was holding her back still. 2 crowns is hardly priceless, she said at last. No, it's not. But he's a wealthy sarcophagus merchant, and that's his opening offer. Overview. There is enthusiasm for a great voyage after the great race. Heralds of Rhiannos have facilitated 3 potential voyages for Imperial fleet captains. At the most recent summit, the captains who were victorious in the great race met with Rhiannos and their heralds in a chamber to discuss their expedition and their hopes for the future. It seems that Wave Rider was interested to hear what adventures might come next for the intrepid captains of the Empire's fleets, and was looking for ideas on how they might support them. Suggestions flowed like water, but many were too ambitious, even for the master of the far shore. It would appear that even the powers of the vaunted Eternal are not enough to send the Empire's fleets to the moon and back. Following the meeting, Farol had commanded their heralds to find adventure for the Empire's captains where they can. 3 of their favored servants have taken Tide Dancer's instructions to heart, and each prepared to support a possible expeditions that the fleets of the Empire might consider. Each of the opportunities presented here is only available in the downtime following the Autumn Equinox 387YE. Beyond the Salt Flats. Farsighted calls for a grand armada to sail and map the eastern coastline. Fleets can take the map of the Eastern Sea scouting voyage after the summit. The Herald, Farsighted, speaks to those who find adventure in searching the horizon for new lands and new places to visit. For some, it is the excitement of seeking out the great unknown. For others, it is simply a wanderlust, a chance to sail where others have not. Bidden by his liege to prepare an adventure, Farsighted lays out a plan to discover new shores. In recent years, the Empire has managed to map both the Bay of Catazar and the Sea of Snow, but the extent of the eastern coastline is unknown. Now, with the attention of the Druge focused on Sarengrave, Farsighted calls on the Eternal's power to offer a chance for a grand armada to sail past Druge lands and chart as much of the eastern coastline of the continent as possible. Each standard fleet assigned to the map of the Eastern Sea action adds 100 points towards successful resolution of the opportunity. Each additional rank for an upgraded or enchanted fleet adds another 20 points. Rituals and other effects that increase the ranks of a scouting fleet, specifically muffled ore, will increase the effective strength for purposes of this special action. Mapping the Eastern Sea will not involve raids against the Druge. The goal is to avoid encounters with the enemy and focus on gathering intelligence so that the majority of the time can be spent mapping the coastlines beyond. Nonetheless, there may be a few opportunities for plunder, and even some chances to trade if the fleets can reach friendly ports. As a result, the standard fleet taking this action will receive 5 random herbs and 60 rings in plunder or trade goods, with upgraded fleets receiving increased rewards. The Quartermaster General of the Imperial armies could also choose to assign the guerdon to the action. In a similar manner to a spy network, the total strength assigned to the opportunity will determine the outcome. All the results said following are cumulative. So if the Empire can assign 25,000 or more strength to map the Eastern Sea, they will gain all the benefits as follows. Names and faces, less than 5,000. Without sufficient ships to cover the coastline in detail, the Empire will be unable to produce even a simple map showing the outline. All they will receive is the names of the territories they have seen from the decks of the ships and the identity of whichever power controls it. While any intelligence is useful, the Empire won't find out much more about these territories than their name and approximate location. Secrets of the Malum, between 5,000 and 10,000. With enough vessels, the Armada will be able to delve into the misty islands of Gloom Sea. The region is mostly unmapped, due to the Hathyuk Sept and its mist-wreathed nature. But with enough ships, it would be possible to uncover most of its secrets. At minimum, the Armada would uncover how the Hathyuk support the Druj. Citadels and ports, between 10,000 and 15,000. With more vessels, the Armada will be able to get through the Malum with enough strength to strike out south past the salt flats of Sanath. Ship captains will need to hug the coastline to avoid becoming lost in the vast Eastern Sea, but that will allow them to create a map of the coastline with the Axo territories, which lie immediately to the south of Malum. The deep holes, between 15,000 and 20,000. With this many fleets, the Imperial cartographers will have enough time to collect information on large territorial features visible from the coastline. The maps they create will include all the details they can observe, providing valuable intelligence on important sites in Thronosconi. What's more, they'll be able to strike even further south, to the territories of Skyra. Cliffs of Vor, between 20,000 and 25,000. With a large enough armada, the Imperials will be able to turn north, towards the Cliffs of Vor. It is unclear how much might be learned about this area. The Druj and the Thule are both tight-lipped about whatever might lie beyond the Great Mountains, but at minimum will reveal something about the mysterious inhabitants of these cloistered lands. Eastern Isles, more than 25,000. Rumors abound of islands filled with ornate gems, precious metals, and esoteric materials that lie off the eastern coast. Just slightly too far away from the coast to journey, and just out of reach. If enough fleets join the expedition, then the route to at least one island will be uncovered. For every additional 5,000 points, one additional island will be discovered. Regardless of the outcome, this represents an opportunity for grand adventure in waters close to home, but nonetheless barely known by Imperial captains. Turnabout is fair play. Tempest calls for the Empire to engage in daring raids against the Asavaeans on the Seven Seas. Fleets can take the raid Asavaean shipping raiding voyage after the summit. If enough fleets take the action, then the Asavaean warship Wind Tamer will be destroyed. The bounty on ships trading with the Empire from the Asavaean Planum have been removed, owing to the Pax Sarcophon. The limits of the ultimatum issued by the Delves still permit the raiding of enemy nations, but strictly prohibit the raiding of merchants of a third party as part of warfare. With the Asavaean navies and warships repulsed by the combined strength of the Empire and Summa, now could be the perfect time to give the Asavaeans a bloody nose. Foam followers not especially interested in warfare, but the Eternal cannot completely deny the excitement and sense of adventure that comes from a battle on the open sea. Armies don't interest him, but he and some of his more martial heralds do enjoy raiding and the thrilling duels between ships. The Herald Tempest speaks to those who crave danger raiding their enemies, Whether it is the thrill of the battle, the anticipation of crossing blades with an enemy, or just embracing the terrible risks involved, Tempest cares not. On the orders of the King of the Nine Tides, the Herald has sought opportunities for bold captains to take the fight to their greatest enemy on the high seas, the Yassavayans. Assaveyan merchants play the sea lanes between the islands of the archipelago, carrying precious cargoes from one satrapy to the next. The bravest sail across the Sea of Storms to trade with the Sarkophan, the Faradin, the Jotun, and the Iron Confederacy. Now, Tempest offers to guide Imperial fleets to strike at these wealthy merchants and plunder their riches. If enough wealthy merchants were attacked, then the planet would be forced to respond, sending their biggest vessels to try and root out the raiders. If that were done, then the Tempest believes the Empire will be able to corner and sink one of the greatest warships of the Planum. Each standard fleet assigned to the Raid Assaveyan shipping action adds 100 points towards successful resolution of the opportunity. Each additional rank for an upgraded or enchanted fleet adds another 20 points. Rituals and other effects that increase the rank of a raiding fleet, such as Blood and Salt, will increase the effective strength for purposes of this special action. Raid Assaveyan shipping will focus on attacking Assaveyan ships, both wealthy merchant ships and the pirates and privateers that have been attacking vessels sailing to and from the Empire. At the moment, they sail with impunity. This could force them to take more care when sailing near Imperial waters. While the goal is not to gather treasure, so much as to engage the enemy in daring battles, there will still be plenty of chances for plunder. As a result, the standard fleet taking this action will receive 5 random ingots or measures and 80 rings in plunder or trade goods, with upgraded fleets receiving increased rewards. The Quartermaster General of the Imperial armies could also choose to assign the Garden to the action. If the Empire can muster a flotilla of fleets with a combined military strength of 15,000 or more, then the damage to the Assaveyan ships will be significant. The Planum will be forced to respond and will order some of their large warships, like the Wind Tamer and Ballos Grace, to try and hunt down the attacking ships. The warships are not well suited for attacking small fleets, and Imperial captains will be able to mob and sink one of the great vessels. This will be a significant blow to Assaveyan pride, and reduce the strength they can deploy to help the Grendel. The Assavayans will ultimately replace the vessel, but they won't be able to do so immediately. It will be at least 6 months before they can increase their naval strength in Imperial waters. Krakens of inferior size. Raptor calls for the Empire to hunt the juvenile Kraken in free landing. Fleets can take the Hunt Free Landing Kraken questing voyage after the summit. Freeborn fleets will gain an additional rank, and Corsairs will gain an even further additional rank. The shining beacons alight in the coastal skies of Madruga are almost painfully bright. The large spheres of pure radiant force make it difficult to keep things hidden, and the nesting grounds of the Kraken unleashed in free landing are no different. With some of the Kraken forced into the open, at least for the next few months, there is a chance for fleet captains to hunt them down. The shining beacons have forced some of the Kraken into unknown areas, deep caverns where no light, not even that called from the Day Realm, can reach. There is no chance to reach these beasts, so some Kraken will remain as a threat to Madruga whatever happens. But there is an opportunity here for an adventure, and even profit. The mighty Kraken of the Sea of Snow are massive monsters, hundreds of feet long, capable of crushing and squeezing a ship's hull to splinters in minutes. Those unleashed in the Bay of Katazar are still young, the largest barely 30 feet long, but they are hungry and dangerous. The hunter can become the hunted as quick as a flash. The sea around the islands are home to many dangers. The most terrible storms can sink any ship. But what many sailors fear most is the monstrous creatures that lurk in the depths, hungering for a chance to pull a ship down. Only the bravest crews dare to become the hunter, turning the chase on the quarry. Lightning Fish knows well how exciting such a hunt can be, a deadly pursuit across the water where life and death is always a moment away. Raptor, one of his heralds, has been instructed to help the Empire attempt such a hunt. Any ship set to hunt free-landing Kraken will spend the season attempting to kill one of the immature Kraken that the Children of Rex have released into the waters off a free landing. They won't be able to eradicate these terrible creatures, but those that are dedicated to the hunt will return home with a very precious cargo. These immature Kraken are not large enough to produce worthwhile volumes of Kraken ink like their monstrous brethren in the Sea of Monsters. But immature Kraken have something potentially even better. The bile of a mature Kraken is acidic enough to dissolve almost anything the Kraken eats, but immature Kraken's acids are less corrosive. As a result, their stomach is filled with ambrelic, or Kraken's bile, a somewhat toxic, greasy substance that is formed from a combination of bile and the partially digested bones of the Kraken's victims. Ambrelic is highly sought after by the sarcophans, whose chirurgeons prize it as a treatment, using tiny amounts of it to remove scars and other blemishes from the skin. It is also used as a base for a variety of perfumes and scents. As a result, even a small amount can be worth a great deal of money. A standard fleet taking this action will receive 5 portions of Ambrelic. Upgraded fleets will receive proportionally more. Rituals and other effects that increase the ranks of a questing fleet, such as Golden Voyage, will increase the effective strength for purposes of this special action. It's hard to say how much the Ambrelic would be worth, but Johann van Basten, a wealthy sarcophan trader currently visiting the Alavetti estates on business, has promised to buy as much as the Empire can produce for 2 crowns a portion at the following summit. Ambrelic sells for considerably more than that in sarcophan, so other buyers could make their offers known before the winter solstice 387 YE, once there is some of the rare substance to be had. If that happens, fleet owners might do even better. Hunting the Kraken will be a challenge. Not just because of how dangerous these monsters are, but also how treacherous the waters around free landing can be to those that are not used to them. Few know these waters better than the freeborn, and none better than the corsairs. As a result, any freeborn fleet is considered 1 rank higher than normal for the purposes of this voyage, and a fleet owned by a corsair would be 2 ranks higher.